How are you living and surviving in the post-apocalyptic Trump world?
Um, I have to admit I'm a little bit in shock, which I know maybe isn't very woke of me to admit because I'm supposed to be very attuned to how the world is feeling, which is of course why I supported Bernie Sanders. But I had Ben Jealous on my show
Oh, okay.
Tuesday,
D-
and
been jealous. I've been trying. Well, it's not his fault. He did tell me to get back to him. All right, go ahead. I'm just jealous
well,
that you
yeah,
had him and I
we
haven't had
ran into it. I know, don't you mad? You jealous?
him. Yes, very
Um,
much.
we ran into each other at the DNC.
Hmm.
So, and I really fangirled out on him, which I think is exciting when you're in politics. I don't think people usually do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I recited basically verbatim his TPP speech
Ah,
from the Democratic Platform Committee meeting. So that may have been how I
isn't
got in.
isn't Ben jealous like way taller in real life than you ever imagined?
Oh my God. I had no idea he was that tall.
This,
And I used to watch, like, when I first met him, he didn't meet me, I mean, via television, was via when that terrible Troy Davis case happened,
yeah,
when he was
yeah.
executed in Georgia. And he was like, I mean, I'm against the death penalty. This guy was, in theory, I'm against it if you know the person's guilty. I'm still against it. But this guy was definitely innocent, and
Yeah,
that was one of the most disturbing executions I think I've lived through
yeah.
that I knew about at least. I mean, they're disturbing ones all the time,
Hmm.
but this one had some high profile because it was such a miscarriage of justice, and it was attracted support from like the former FBI director, from Bob Barr, you know, not a big
Hmm.
social justice warrior. But anyway, so I would see him all the time on Democracy Now! And stuff when he was the head of the NAACP. And I don't know if he grew since then or something, but I realized he was tall, I think, when I was watching the Democratic Platform Committee meetings and he was standing next to various people. And that's when I realized how tall
Yeah.
he was. Like a
Like,
giant.
I
A
mean,
giant.
I always take notice when somebody is over 5, over 6 feet because, I'm not 6 feet, obviously. But the dude was larger than life. And like, I'm like,
Yeah.
holy crap. I thought you were like maybe a few inches taller than me. You're like a foot and a half taller than me. But anyway, let's talk about the,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
politics of it. So you had him on the
The
show.
substance. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry.
Um,
Oh, actually,
no.
you
Yeah.
know what? I've been so inappropriate here because I started this conversation with my audience with you, as though you've been on my show before. I've been on your show, and I did
Right.
share a podcast that we did together on my channel, but this is the first time you've been live on my show.
Right. It's true. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thank you for
so
having me live.
my pleasure. This is
In
Katie
fact,
Halper,
and
host of the Katie Halper Show. You're actually doing another show now too, am I right?
no, I'm just doing the Katie Halper show, but we do it live. I think maybe that's what you're referring to. So it's the
Mm,
Katie Halper show. It's on WBAI, and then we also do it live at this venue once a month. And we
hmm.
also we'll either do it from the WBI studio or we'll pre-tape it
Yeah. Okay. All right.
at
So
another place.
you
Yeah,
are consider yourself a leftist, right?
yeah, but big old lefty. Yeah,
Big old
for a
lefty.
while.
And
Yeah, big old
but
lefty
you
for a
but you
while. Yeah.
supported Hillary Clinton and I'm setting you up, but not to knock you down, but you
No,
you supported
no,
Hillary
keep
Clinton in
going.
the general election.
I It depends what you mean by that, and I'm not being precious.
Hmm.
My last guest before Ben Jealous was actually Jill Stein.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you
Damn,
saw
what?
that. I'll
I'm
send it to you,
slipping.
but I have it.
I'm slipping. I've got to up my. I've
No,
got to get some new people on the show. So Ben Jealous and Jill Stein. So you
yeah,
you were basically, and we talked at length about this. Like you did not want Hillary Clinton, but you wanted Donald Trump less.
yeah. I wanted Bernie Sanders, and if I had lived in a swing state, I would have voted for Hillary Clinton. I had Becky Bond on my show a bunch of times, who was a senior organizer for Bernie Sanders, and she, I love bragging about her that she was called the left's secret weapon by Breitbart,
Mm.
which is a pretty
Yeah,
great
that's
thing
a
to
great
have on your
compliment.
tombstone,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And she is a big Bernie person, and her thing, and I never really came down one way or the other on this, honestly. I thought it was important to like, because there's a lot of shaming that we
Yeah.
do on the left. Like, we don't need to do more of that. We're a little less annoying, I think, than liberals. And we can go through that. I don't know how some
Yeah.
people
No. Yeah.
identify,
Oh, no.
but
They
um,
know exactly the difference.
yeah. Right. Okay. So, but the whole idea of like, someone else telling me like, oh, were you serious when you said that? I just want to know so I can stop following you. I'm like, okay, sorry. Yeah. I mean, I said, and the irony is that this was a tweet I did a while ago, which was basically about being like how you can be progressive and support. My point was that you can support, it was kind of, I was like dissing Hillary supporters for not supporting Sanders moving the platform to the left and making it more progressive. And I think I said something like, you can be progressive and vote for Hillary Clinton. You can't be progressive and oppose the person making the Democratic platform more progressive, right?
Okay, yeah.
And my point was really, it was really an anti, I'm just changing the angle on this. You know how women are with the perspective, flattering.
But I don't know anything about that. Go ahead.
Oh, really? Okay. My point was really that about the hypocrisy of calling yourself progressive and literally telling the person who's making the platform more progressive, which we know he did, and we can go through that and all the mishigas about how people deny that. You can't call yourself a progressive and then say of the person who's trying to make the platform more progressive, go home, go back to Vermont. Yeah. I mean, it was, the way that these people outed themselves was crazy to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. You had people like John Aravosa saying, well, whatever, minimum wage. I'm not really that passionate about minimum wage or TPP. You say that not allowed. You say that under your breath to your friends when you're all eating dinner together, and you don't pretend, and no one pretends to be like connected to the suffering of most people, right? I get that. But like, you're on Twitter, you're supposed to pretend not to be basically a reactionary except for on social issues.
And that's okay, so we're actually, I don't even know what we're talking about. We're just talking, right?
I know,
that's what we do.
Best ADD together. We have like a
Yeah, but you're actually hitting on something that's really important here, right? Because a lot of people reveal themselves, and this matters at this juncture. I'm not relitigating. I refuse. I won't relitigate the primaries, but it's important for us to point out the reason why Hillary Clinton lost. And the reason Hillary Clinton lost was actually bigger than Hillary Clinton. The reason Hillary Clinton lost was because she was not a big enough personality or a likable enough personality to cover up, once again, the problems in the Democratic Party. Barack Obama was. Hillary Clinton was not. Now, of course, there's a whole litany of reasons why other people just don't like Hillary Clinton. But if we don't address the problems with the Democratic Party, then they're going to keep losing. And I'm sorry, I got in a lot of heat on this, or some heat, but the Green Party is not going to be in a position to take out Donald Trump in 2020. That's not going to happen.
Right. One second. I'm just grabbing my phone to have evidence of something. Sorry. No, I agree with what you're saying. And I think so many people don't, it's, okay, let me just back up and say the Ben Jeolous thing, and then we'll go back to this.
Okay, go for it.
But when Ben Jeolous did my show Tuesday, I asked him what to expect. And I really thought he'd come on and because he endorsed Hillary Clinton after making, being a really good Bernie Sanders surrogate. And that's not a deal breaker for me, honestly. Like, I think that there are people, I think we need a lot of people working together. If you're a DNC official, that's maybe a different story, which we'll get to in a second, because I have a great Facebook fight I got into with someone over that. But, he said, when I was like, what are you expecting for tonight? And I kind of thought he was going to make the case of why we need to hold Clinton's feet to the fire, but why she's better than Trump. And he said, fear, I think we have to fear the possibility that Trump wins.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And you can see me. I wasn't being dismissive or rude, but I was kind of like, okay. Like, okay, it'll be closer than we thought. That's really what I thought he was saying. And he went through the states and how he thought that there would be some surprise states that he picked up and no surprise states that Hillary picked up. Yeah. And he went through it, and he's like super smart, as you know. Rhodes Scholar too, which I didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah,
a couple minutes before the show. Yeah. He went through the reasons why, and it was because, I mean, the reason he was predicting was because there are a lot of unlikely voters, and that usually when we talk about unlikely voters, the unlikely voters are Black and Latino, the people who are, related to, who have to do with the Voting Rights Act, right? Right. But there are a lot of unlikely white, lower income, less educated voters too. And as he predicted, Ben Jeolous predicted, they would come out and they're unlikely voters. And he broke it down. He said that they're unlikely voters who are they're cicada voters. They come out like every 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
So once you don't vote for 10 years, you're not polled. And they're the people who would come out were people who find celebrities appealing and who aren't really that politically involved. And that's why you have someone like what's his name, Jesse Ventura, who's probably the least politically offensive of all the celebrity politicians, honestly, and people and extremist causes, and of course, as Ben Jeolous pointed out, Donald Trump, was endorsed by the KKK, and that was his shtick, that was his MO, So I had a little bit of I was in college when George Bush won the first time, and I remember being in the library, and my friend Matt Nettleton, hi Netto, came in and told me it looked like Bush was winning, and I was like, whatever, and I went back to studying. I mean, I did not think it at all. Right. This time I was less kind of incredulous, but yeah. My dad was right. I have to say, my dad was right. He kept saying this. He kept saying she wasn't gonna win. Yeah, we picked up on it. Me and my research assistant, or whatever, I don't have a title for him, but he's just my dude, Max. We picked up on this at about 8:45. 8:45 when we start looking at the leads in some key states. And then we drill down to the districts that are the counties that she would get Democratic votes from. It was pretty much evident that it was done. It was done really early on, and if not for Gary Johnson, it would have been over at like 7 o'clock, because Gary Johnson pulled enough away from Donald Trump to make it actually, we had to stay up late. If nothing else, Gary Johnson just extended it. Like it would have been an insane blowout had Gary Johnson not been there. Listen, I got to get you. Go ahead. Oh, can you email this to Rachel Maddow, who's also a Rhodes Scholar, who somehow is putting this in writing? Is she blaming Stein or both? Well, actually, all third parties.
Actually, so I already have a video on it. So grab the video off my timeline and I'll tweet it to you. But share it with Rachel, because I said this last night, and I mean this sincerely. She's very smart. So I'm not going to say that she's ignorant and doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm going to say that she is being very disrespectful to her audience and dismissing their intelligence, and doing so for what? To have something to hide behind?
When she did that first also was when she talked about TPP and how Bush passed it and Clinton didn't.
NAFTA, yeah. Exactly.
Sorry. Exactly, TPP 1.0, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that was like absurd. And again, exactly. It's like, look, as we were saying before, and as you said before, like, this is a great way to kind of expose people. Like, people are coming out of the woodwork and they don't even realize what they're doing. But yeah, it's really disturbing to me when someone like Rachel Maddow, who I used to think had a lot of integrity, to watch her do this.
You know why? It's because it's easy to have integrity when you're going up against someone that you disagree with. It's very hard to have integrity when you disagree with, or you should be disagreeing with, somebody that you support, right? It's easy. Make it simple. It was easy for her to have integrity when she was going up against Republicans and against George W. Bush. It's been very difficult for most of them to have any integrity when they've had to go up against Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama.
Totally. And you and I both had Glenn Greenwald on. I had him on a couple of weeks ago.
Listen, you're not going to keep upstaging me on my own show.
Stop. You have a much bigger. No. You should go through your pedigree of guests. But I'm bringing him up because he said something great on my show. He said if Edward Snowden had been Edward Snowden during under Republican, there'd be a 40-foot marble statue of him erected in front of 30 Rock, MSNBC's headquarters.
Yeah.
Most definitely. It's like, yeah. And so it's just, I mean, I actually had something, I wrote on Facebook, I thought I was being pretty like generous, but I wrote on Facebook, I was like, I'm extremely sad for the country and for the world. And I even do, I have to, your guests are going to hate me. They're going to throw a banana at me, which we'll get to in a second. But I feel bad for Hillary Clinton. I do. I don't think she deserved it, but I think it's a frustrating thing to know that. But like you said, it's not just a gender thing, and we have to bust that myth. Gender's involved and related, but it's not just a gender thing. And if you wanted to make the case that it was this takeaway of it being a gender, oh, now we know that America is more sexist than racist. Barack Obama does not function in the same way that Hillary Clinton does on so many levels, right? Like we could spend hours talking about this one issue. It's very complicated and there's a lot to unpack, but like he does not trigger among racists what Hillary Clinton triggers among sexists. And I'm not apologizing for sexists, but I really think that's true. I think that she is a lot more of the thing that sexists hate than racists do of Obama. And again, and I'm in no way criticizing her for this, right? And I think that she ironically, they said that he played the race card. You know, it was Bill Clinton who said that. Yeah. Which not only did he say that, this is like, and you're right, this works for Bill and not for Hillary, the smear and lie, right? So Bill Clinton says that they're playing the race card. He says that on the radio. The next day, a reporter from MSNBC, a cameraman, asks him what he meant when he said the Barack Obama campaign was playing the race card. He said, when did I say that? And to whom did I say that? And he's like, yesterday on radio station, blah, 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 you know? But she doesn't have the, but so the irony is that they're the ones who said Obama played the race card. But then you have, what's his name? Michael Eric Dyson. Michael Eric Dyson, right? Who was an Obama person. His wife was Hillary. But I remember him saying about Obama runs from race like a black man runs from a police officer. All of which I'm bringing up to, it's a Dysonism, right? But Hillary's discussion around gender and her surrogate's discussion around gender, it really exploited sexism and feminism, I would say. It exploited and hijacked feminism in a way that, like, so again, it's just not comparable. Obama didn't talk about that. That was a big critic. I mean, that's why Ta-Nehisi Coates was so angry at him, right? Yeah. And we could debate whether, like,
who was
the
actually
merits
right,
of that.
Right? We can actually, if we debate about who's actually right, like, I think, so you're right. We could impact. You know what? We need to do it offline because we need to do about an hour conversation just on the fact that Hillary addressed sexism. However, Hillary didn't address sexism, right? Hillary personified McFeminism and corporate feminism, but she still addressed the superficial version of feminism. She still addressed, she put it out there. Barack Obama didn't even do that with race. So I can't really say who was right or wrong in that. I would just say that neither one of them were going to address the real issue underneath it.
Right. Yeah. But I think it speaks to the difference between them. And I think that's one of the reasons that we can't just say, oh, look, we had a black person, a black man, and we had a white woman. And now we know that it's different. It's just, there are too many variables. It's not a controlled enough experiment for many reasons. I think part of the reason that Hillary had faced more of a challenge was because we had two terms of the Hopi changey president. And I'm not like dismissing Obama. I have very complicated feelings about him. I think the left did a terrible job keeping him to the left, and we can talk about that later. But I think that a lot of the stuff that Clinton faces is coming after Barack Obama. All of which is to say that the takeaway that we are more sexist than we are racist, that may be true, but it's certainly not based in reality or based on the evidence of this election does not support that.
Right.
And I hear people saying that all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately they do, and we're going to tackle a bit of that later on. Katie, I have to cut it there only because I got 12 other topics to get to. I want everyone to check out Katie Halper's show. Go ahead.
I have a Patreon.
Yeah.
So
the Katie Halper, is it patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show?
Exactly, yeah.
Figured as much. Go check her out. She's got some great content. I really do enjoy our conversations. This is only our second one, but I enjoyed both of them. If you like her show, and follow her on Twitter and go support her on Patreon. And we'll get you back as soon as we can. On Twitter, she is
awesome. I'm the letter K, the letter T, HALPS. And I want people, please tweet at me examples of all the people who said that we don't need Clinton, we don't need Bernie supporters or potential third-party voters. We're going to win this on our own. I'm writing a piece about that. So please tweet at me all those examples. Like the classic one for me is Charles Clymer telling me when I was telling him to stop maybe bashing Bernie supporters during the DNC because that wasn't going to be a good look.
Right.
And his saying, if I need to convince you of that, I'm not here for that. So send me examples of that.
Sounds
if you can.
like.
And thank you, Ben.
Hey,
You have
no,
to
my
come back on
pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Katie Halper of the Katie Halper Show. Ladies and gentlemen, go check her out at patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show, on Twitter at KT Halps. Always a great conversation with her.